The weirdest part about being attacked by an HOA is they don't come with a weapon, they come with a clipboard and a vanilla perfume cloud that hits you half a second before the threat does. And somehow, in the year of our Lord and overpriced Arizona real estate, that clipboard can feel more dangerous than a crowbar. I didn't think I'd ever be the guy arguing about a strip of gravel at sunrise until one morning. My gate clicked open like somebody had just kicked my front door in, politely. Phoenix was already warming up, that early heat shimmer starting to dance over the asphalt like the city was preheating itself for the day, and I was in the garage in my work boots, coffee in a chipped mug, staring at my tool bench like it owed me answers. Wire strippers, tape measure. A half-open box of outlet covers, normal life, my life. Then I heard a tiny, crisp sound, click, followed by the soft crunch of tires on gravel that wasn't theirs. I stepped out, and there she was, Karen Whitmore, standing under the sign I mounted myself, private access lane, and no trespassing, smiling like we were sharing a sunrise instead of a boundary. She had the clipboard tucked against her hip like it was part of her skeleton, pen ready, posture perfect, the kind of woman who could call the cops on you for breathing too loud and still sleep like a baby. She didn't knock. She didn't wave. She stapled a sheet of paper to my lane post, tack, 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 like she was nailing a verdict to my property. "Mr. Rivera," she said, smooth and warm, like a customer service rep explaining why your refund is impossible, "you're restricting community access." I looked at the paper, HOA letterhead, my address in bold like a slap, words like violation, NO compliant, daily fines may apply, lien action possible. I felt my phone buzz right after, because of course it did, and the HOA portal notification popped up like she'd timed it to the second. Karen watched my eyes drop to the screen and smiled a little wider like, "See? It's logged." Behind me, my daughter Sophia showed up in the garage doorway, barefoot, hair wild from sleep, clutching her notebook, 16, honor student, the kind of kid who should be worried about exams and prom drama, not grown adults who weaponize stationery. "Dad, what is that?" Karen turned her smile toward Sophia the way you turn a smile toward a camera. "Good morning, Sophia." Sophia's eyes locked on the notice. Karen pointed her pen at my gate. "This barrier is non-compliant." "It's a gate," I said, keeping my voice calm even though my chest was already tightening. "On my private lane." "It's an obstruction," she corrected, like the word itself could rewrite ownership. "And the board takes safety seriously." "Safety, I swear. People can do anything if they say it's for safety." "You're standing on my property," I said. Her smile stayed, but her eyes hardened. "This lane serves the community. It's been used for years." "Used," I said, "is not the same as owned." She flipped a page on her clipboard, slow and theatrical, like she was reading a script she'd performed 100 times. "Our covenants give the association authority to ensure access for emergency purposes." "Do you have that in writing?" I asked. She tapped the stapled notice like it was gospel. "You're looking at it." That's when a neighbor's sedan slowed at the mouth of the lane, just enough to see what was happening, just enough for their eyes to flick from Karen to me, and then they kept rolling. No wave. No nod. Just a quiet look away, like minding your business could keep you safe from her. Sophia's voice shook. "Dad, can they put a lien on the house?" "Only if we let them," I said, and I meant it, but I also felt how thin that sentence sounded in the morning air. Karen took one deliberate step past the little painted stripe I'd put on the gravel, my cheap, stubborn line in the sand, and she said almost sweetly, "See? I'm on the lane. Still standing." It was a dare wrapped in politeness, hoping I'd snap so she could write hostile in neat little letters and turn me into a story. Sophia grabbed my sleeve like she was holding me down to earth. "Are you refusing to comply?" Karen asked. "I'm refusing to be bullied," I said. Her pen scratched. "Homeowner is hostile." "Noted." "Hostile, that's what you become the moment you don't bow." So I pulled out the folded page I'd kept in my back pocket like a talisman, the property description from my deed, worn at the creases, the lane outlined in black, measured, recorded, boring and beautiful. I pressed it right there under her notice. "This," I said, "is my deed. It says this lane is part of my parcel." For half a second her smile slipped, just a hairline crack. Then it came back brighter. "Deeds can be complicated," she said. "That's why we have an association, to interpret, to manage." "To control," Sophia muttered, and Karen's head snapped toward her. "Excuse me?" Sophia lifted her chin. "Nothing." I raised my hand, not touching Karen, not touching the clipboard, just holding space. "Step back off my lane." You don't command me, Mr. Rivera, she said, and laughed once, short and cold. Boundaries don't apply when the community is at risk. What risk? I asked. She gestured down toward my house like she was pointing at a crime scene. Fire, ambulance, police, anything. Or you needing to remind everyone you're in charge, I said. Her cheeks stiffened. Lock this lane again, and the fines start today. Sophia leaned in, barely whispering. Dad, what do we do? We don't panic, I said. We document. Karen smiled like I'd told a joke. Then she turned away, still walking on my lane as she went, leaving her shadow stretched across the gravel like a claim. And I wish I could tell you that was the worst of it. One notice, one early morning power trip, end of story. No, that was just the opening scene. A couple days later, I heard an engine and thought it was a delivery, because Phoenix mornings have their own soundtrack. Sprinklers ticking, a dog barking 2 houses over, that dry hush of heat waiting to rise. Then the rumble got closer, and a white HOA truck rolled straight past my private sign like it was a suggestion. Orange cone rattling in the bed, association logo on the door, like they were the city. Sophia was at the kitchen table half-dressed for school, flipping flashcards like her life depended on them. Maybe it did. I stepped onto the porch, and my stomach tightened so fast it felt like a reflex. Sophia, I called, stay inside. She appeared anyway, because of course she did. The truck crunched up my gravel, bored-faced driver behind the wheel, and Karen's spotless SUV followed like a parade float for entitlement. She stepped out like she was arriving at a ribbon-cutting, clipboard in hand, perfume already pushing through the air. Good morning, Mr. Rivera, she called. You just drove onto my property, I said. The association is conducting an access review, she said, like those words made trespass disappear. On my private lane, I repeated. Emergency compliance, she said. Routine. The driver leaned out the window. Ma'am, where do you want the measurements? Karen pointed down the gravel. Start at the gate. Document the obstruction. Obstruction, there it was again, her favorite word for my boundary. I stepped closer, not aggressive, just present. Turn around, I told the driver. This isn't a public road. He hesitated, eyes flicking to Karen for permission like she was his boss, his mom, his priest. Karen's smile sharpened. He's authorized. By who? I asked. By the board, she said. My deed doesn't answer to your board. Sophia's voice came out small and exhausted. Dad, why do they keep doing this? Karen barely looked at her. Because rules exist for a reason. Sophia swallowed, cheeks flushing. Rules don't let you drive into someone's home. Karen finally looked at her, fully looked, and her voice cooled. Careful, Sophia. Disrespect creates consequences. And that was the moment something shifted in me, because you can threaten me all day, you can staple whatever you want on my post, but the second you aim consequences at my kid like a leash, my calm turns into steel. I held up my phone. The camera was already recording, red dot blinking like a heartbeat. I'm documenting trespass, I said. Oh, now you're filming, Karen said, still smiling, but her eyes did that tiny twitch again. This is not trespass, she said. This is association business. Sophia whispered beside me, almost to herself. Power loves unchallenged silence. Karen heard it anyway. Excuse me? Sophia straightened. Nothing. Karen reached into her folder and pressed another slip of paper against my gate post like she was pinning a sentence. Daily fine, she said. $200 per day. Access obstruction. My throat went dry. You can't just. Oh, I can, she said softly. And I will. Sophia stared at the paper, then at Karen, then at the truck. Her voice cracked in a way that still hits me when I think about it. Dad, do we even belong here? That question, it hurt more than any fine. I turned enough to meet her eyes. We belong in our home, I said. That's not up for debate. Karen clicked her pen. Belonging requires compliance. I looked right at her. Belonging requires decency. She didn't like that. I could tell by how she leaned closer and lowered her voice, making it feel personal. This gate comes down, she murmured, with or without your consent. Try it, I said, and I didn't yell, but my voice had that electricity in it, like a live wire you shouldn't touch unless you're ready for consequences you don't control. She stepped back, lifted the clipboard like a shield. Expect continued enforcement. Then she left, and the HOA truck reversed out slowly, like it planned to return. That night, the county records office didn't smell like justice. It smelled like old paper and stale air conditioning, and the kind of patience most people don't have anymore. Sophia walked beside me with her backpack still on, eyes sharp despite the long day. We waited in line behind an older couple arguing about property taxes, and Sophia leaned close. "What if she really can fine us every day?" she whispered. "Then we fight it the right way," I said, holding the folder under my arm. Deed copy, parcel map, Karen's notice folded like a bruise. When it was our turn, the clerk barely looked up, mid-50s, glasses low on his nose, face carved from routine. I asked for any recorded easements tied to my parcel. He typed slow, clicked, frowned. "You're looking for an easement," he said. "Yes," I said. "The HOA claims they have access rights through my private lane." The clerk let out this tired little snort like he'd heard every confident lie in the county. "HOAs claim a lot," he said, and turned his monitor slightly. "No recorded easement listed," he said. "No utility easement. No access easement. No right-of-way." Sophia's breath caught like someone had pulled the air out of her. "None." "None," the clerk repeated, and shrugged like truth was just another Tuesday. "If it's not recorded, it doesn't exist in the county's eyes." Sophia held up Karen's little map, that rough diagram with a bold line cutting across my lane labeled community access. "But she showed us this," Sophia said. "She said it proves it." The clerk took one look and handed it back like it might be sticky. "That's not county issued," he said. "A map isn't a record." Sophia grabbed the form when I asked for a stamped request documenting the absence of an easement. She filled it out with neat, decisive handwriting, parcel number, lane description, reason, HOA trespass dispute, and the clerk brought the stamp down hard. "Filed." That sounds sharp, final. It felt like a shield dropping into my hands. As we stepped away from the counter, a woman's voice called out behind us. "Marcus Rivera?" I turned. A woman in her 30s, hair pulled back, messenger bag slung over one shoulder, calm eyes that noticed details. "I'm Maya Lopez," she said. I couldn't help overhearing. "I work as a paralegal. I've helped homeowners deal with HOA overreach." Overreach, that word tasted right. I asked her straight, "What is it legally when she drives onto my lane?" Maya didn't hesitate. "Trespass," she said. "HOA authority doesn't override property law. Not without a recorded easement. Trespass. Not violation. Not obstruction. Trespass. Clean, heavy, accurate." She leaned closer. "Karen wants you emotional," Maya said. "She wants you to yell, shove, look dangerous, so she can label you hostile and sell that story to the neighborhood." Sophia's jaw tightened. "She already did." Maya nodded. "So you stay measured. You stay documented. Paper beats intimidation." Then, right when I thought we were leaving with nothing but a stamped form and a new kind of determination, my phone buzzed. A neighborhood app alert. Karen Whitmore had posted publicly, "Resident threatens community safety by blocking emergency access." Sophia read it and went pale. "She's turning you into the villain," she whispered. I could hear Maya's voice in my head. She feeds on silence or explosions. That night, my garage looked like a crime board. HOA notice, fine slip, county stamp, Karen's fake map all spread across my tool bench like I was wiring up a case instead of an outlet. Sophia stood there with her arms folded tight, eyes hard. "Dad," she said, "they never owned access. Not once. It was always a bluff." Then came the twist I didn't see coming, the one that turned this from Karen's on a power trip into something uglier. A knock hit the side door. 3 quick taps. I froze. Sophia froze. I opened it halfway and Dexter stepped in. Our neighbor, messy hair, laptop bag over his shoulder, the kind of guy who looks like he lives on caffeine and code. "I've been digging," he said, flipping his laptop open like it was a weapon. "Karen's access claim, it's not just wrong, it's strategic." He'd pulled records, home sales, HOA filings, patterns across the neighborhood. "Only a handful of houses have private access lanes like yours," he said, jaw tight. "Every single one has been targeted with emergency access violations in the last 18 months. Sophia's mouth fell open. "That's not random." "No," Dexter said. "It's a pattern." "Why?" I asked, even though my stomach already knew the answer. Dexter turned the screen toward us, sale prices, dates, names. "Because these houses sell fast," he said. "Private lanes mean privacy. Higher value. Higher commission." Sophia went quiet, then whispered like it was poison. "Karen's a realtor." Dexter nodded. "Exactly. She pressures people, fines, threats, public shaming. Then when they panic, they sell and she gets the listing." I stared at Karen's fake map on my bench and felt my blood go cold. All that perfume, all that paper, all that safety, just a hustle. And then, because apparently the universe wanted to kick the door in one more time, another knock sounded. 2 slow knocks. I opened it, and there stood Jerry Whitmore. Her husband. He looked like a man who'd forgotten how to stand straight, wrinkled dress shirt, pale face, eyes avoiding mine like they were ashamed to meet anything honest. "Marcus," he said, voice strained. "I need to talk, not for her." Sophia stiffened. "Sorry doesn't unstaple fines." Jerry swallowed hard. "I know," he said. "And I'm sorry anyway." He looked at the papers, then at Dexter's laptop, then at me. "She uses lane disputes because they scare people fast," he said quietly. "Access, emergency, safety, those words make neighbors fold." "Fold into selling," I said. Jerry nodded once, miserable. "She calls them pressure points," he admitted. "She says certain residents don't fit the community image, families without resources, people who won't fight back." Sophia's face twisted. "Undesirable." Jerry didn't deny it. He just looked down like the truth was heavy. "She thinks she can force you out by Monday," he said. Sophia's voice went steady, and I'll never forget it. Then Monday becomes the day she learns she picked the wrong lane. That's when I understood the real fight wasn't my gate, it was the story Karen was trying to sell. About who belongs, who gets pushed, who stays silent so leaders can keep feeding. Monday morning, the contractor truck was back at the mouth of my lane, idling like a threat. Karen's SUV pulled up behind it, spotless as ever. Neighbors were watching, curtains twitching, porch doors cracking open, the whole street holding its breath like it always did when Karen showed up. I walked out with my phone recording, Sophia beside me, and I didn't feel like screaming anymore. I felt focused, like when you're working a live panel. You don't panic, you don't rush, you respect what's real. Karen smiled like we were meeting for brunch. "The association has contracted an access compliance adjustment," she said. "Adjustment," I repeated. "You mean removal?" "Emergency right of way," she said. "You don't have a recorded easement," I said. "You keep saying that word like it matters more than safety," she replied. "It does," I said. "Because it's law." She raised her voice so it carried down the street, doing her little stage play for the neighbors. "Residents, this homeowner is obstructing emergency access." And I watched the street react the way it always had, people tense, people quiet, people afraid to choose a side. Until one porch door opened wider, and Mrs. Patterson stepped out with her arms crossed. No fear, just that fed-up look older women get when they've seen enough nonsense. A kid stopped his bike. Somebody in the back muttered, "Is she serious?" Karen didn't like the sound of people waking up. She walked to the community bulletin board and pinned up a thick envelope like public judgment. "Emergency hearing, Friday, 6 p.m., and she turned back to me with that satisfied glint. "Then prove it," she said, almost whispering, like this was fun. Friday night, the community center was packed. Folding chairs, burnt coffee smell, projector humming, microphone squealing once sharp enough to make people flinch. Karen stood at the front like she owned the room, blazer perfect, clipboard ready, vanilla perfume drifting like a warning. "We are here because of a serious safety threat," she began, loud and smooth. "Mr. Rivera has obstructed emergency access, refused HOA authority, created a dangerous situation." Dangerous again. My heart beat slow, steady, and I stood. "This hearing is about one thing," I said, voice calm but anchored. "My private access lane." Karen's attorney started to rise, that thin, slick-haired guy with a practiced frown, but before he could fully puff up, Maya stepped forward from the side with a folder in her hands. "Marcus is right," she said. The room shifted, people leaning in, like truth had finally walked into the building. Maya plugged into the projector. The screen flickered, and there it was, my recorded deed map, clean black lines, my lane inside my parcel. Then the county document with the stamp across the top, filed, confirming no easement exists. "Emergency access does not create ownership," Maya said, steady. "Forced entry onto private land without a recorded easement is trespass." Trespass hit the room like a gavel. Karen's cheeks flushed. "That is inflammatory." "It's a legal definition," Maya said, and then, because karma has timing, another figure stood near the front row, badge folder in hand. "I'm Maria Santos," she said, calm official. "HOA oversight." You could feel the air change. Karen's smile froze like she'd just realized the audience wasn't hers anymore. Maria looked at the projected records. "There is no easement filed," she said. "Your access claim is invalid." Karen's attorney sputtered about determinations and procedures, but Maria lifted a hand, not angry, just done. It requires recorded evidence, she said, which you do not have. Then she looked at Karen, really looked, and asked the question that cracked everything open. Then why were daily fines issued? Maria said. Why were contractors brought to remove a private gate? Karen opened her mouth and nothing came out. Maria turned to the room. Based on what I've seen tonight, I am requesting a formal fraud review into the HOA's enforcement practices regarding private access lanes. Fraud review. People murmured out loud now. No more curtain whispers, no more silent nods. Karen's clipboard trembled in her hand, like it finally weighed what it should have weighed all along. 2 mornings later, my phone chimed, clean and sharp in the kitchen quiet. An email banner slid across the screen, injunction granted. I opened it with shaking fingers, and the words were formal, black, final. HOA barred from entering, enforcing, or interfering with the private access lane on my parcel. Sophia stood so fast her chair scraped. Dad, is that real? It's real, I said, and my voice came out rough, like relief didn't know how to exit my throat politely. We stood on the courthouse steps later, the building cool and pale in the morning light, flags hanging still in dry air, people moving in and out with folders like consequences were just paperwork, which honestly they are. Across the plaza, Karen appeared alone, no contractor truck, no entourage, still clutching the clipboard like a habit. Her blazer was perfect, but her posture wasn't. She saw us and slowed, and for the first time she didn't look like she was arriving to take something, she looked like she was arriving too late. A worker in a reflective vest carried a metal signpost toward the mouth of my lane, checked a map, nodded. This the location? Yes, the clerk said. Court-ordered installation. They stopped at the entrance, didn't drive in, didn't cross the line, because the funny thing about real authority is it doesn't need to trespass to prove itself. The worker set the post, bolted the sign into place, tightened the last bolt, stepped back. Dead end, court ordered. Big, bold letters, impossible to interpret. Sophia let out a breath like she'd been holding it for weeks. I stared at that sign until my eyes burned, because the lesson landed in a way no speech ever could. Power isn't the loudest voice in the room, it's the thing that holds up in daylight, on paper, under scrutiny. Karen had lived on performance, fear, silence, neighbors looking away, because as long as nobody challenged her, she could call anything safety and get away with it. That's the moral nobody tells you until you learn it the hard way. Bullies don't run on strength, they run on permission, and most of the time we hand them that permission in tiny, quiet pieces. By not speaking up, by avoiding conflict, by thinking it's not worth it, until one day it is worth it. Because it's your kid asking if you even belong in your own home. Karen cleared her throat behind us. This is excessive, she said, but the words had no bite. The worker didn't even look at her. Orders are orders, he muttered. Sophia turned her head, calm as a judge. This community suffered because of you, she said. Karen flinched, then turned away, walking up the street alone. Heels quieter than before, clipboard lowered like it finally understood it wasn't a crown. A month later, the end of our street smelled like barbecue smoke instead of vanilla perfume. Kids rode bikes past the dead Yendi sign like it was just a normal thing, because it should have been. The bulletin board had new policies posted. Open records, term limits, no entry without written consent, financial disclosures, and neighbors were actually reading it instead of pretending it wasn't their problem. Someone handed Sophia a newsletter, special edition. HOA reforms passed unanimously, independent oversight established, and in smaller print, a scholarship fund in Sophia's name for first-gen students. She covered her mouth like she couldn't believe a neighborhood that once stayed silent was now giving back. And standing there, hand on my gate latch, feeling the cool metal like something real, I realized justice isn't revenge. Justice is structure. It's making abuse impossible. It's records, boundaries, and a community that finally decides fear is too expensive. So here's the question I can't stop thinking about, and I want you to actually wrestle with it when someone uses safety and community as an excuse to take what isn't theirs. Where's the line between enforcing rules and straight-up tyranny with a smile? Drop your take in the comments. Was I right to push back as hard as I did, or should I have played it quieter? And if you've ever dealt with an HOA, a landlord, a boss, a system that tried to bully you with authority, tell your story too. I want to know how you handled it, and whether you think karma shows up because people get brave or because the law finally catches up.